The need to understand international business is imperative for companies today because primarily the world, not physically but literally, is shrinking with ease of communication, speed of travel, and a sophisticated global supply chain logistics uh, process. It is extremely easy to do business across national borders, and those companies that do not understand how to do that will be left behind and may soon be out of business. The company I used to work for probably imported 30 to 40% of our components from overseas and exported 20% of our finished goods. And being in a premium market, we were obviously had a positive balance of trade, exporting several $1 million more than we imported. But we had to, even though we were a small plant in the middle of Ohio, needed to understand all the nuances of international business, which we'll talk about later in this course. All businesses, or almost all businesses, will at one point or another involve themselves in international business and therefore have a need for employees that understand at least the basics. There's no substitute for the education of actually getting involved, traveling overseas and doing business, which I did for several years with my former employer. It was nothing to spend 2 to 3 weeks or more at a time in China and the Far East, negotiating contracts, managing quality and production issues, and that type of thing. But very important to understand the culture and what you can and can't do in a foreign country. International business can have both good and negative impacts. Obviously, the good impact is that with a more global playing field, there are more choices for the consumers. There are typically lower prices for the consumers, and because everybody's out there, the consumer demands higher quality. So that it works in the favor of the consumer. Simple definition of international business are business activities carried out across country borders or national borders. And it doesn't make a difference if that is a physical product that is being shipped or if it is a service like a financial service, a consulting service that is being transferred. But eventually there will be monetary worth transferred back and forth for the completion of either the product shipment or the service transfer. The and the basis for all trade is that a particular company, country, or individual has something you need, you have something they need, and so the trade enhances and takes place. A very basic example of that would be, McDonald's has a Big Mac that you want, you have $4 that they want, and a trade ensues. So the same regardless domestic or international. Types of international business, and we'll talk about a lot more in depth. One is import-export, and that's basically buying and selling. Again, we bought components from overseas, we exported and sold our product back overseas. Licensing, where a company will allow another company for a fee to use their name, their trademarks, possibly their formulas or any proprietary technology, and then for every product sold, the patent or technology owner will receive a fee from another company. Franchising, McDonald's is the prime example of that, where for a very large fee, you can have your own McDonald's. You are subject to their rules because they protect their brand, but you take advantage of their technology, their marketing, advertising, their brand value and brand image, that type of thing. So it's a mutual benefit. Another is the management of contracts, where possibly a company may want to do business in a foreign country, and they will hire a local company to manage the business under a management contract. And then the final would be, and the more glamorous and more well heard of and known, is foreign direct investment, where you actually spend millions, if not hundreds of millions of dollars to build a plant like Toyota and Honda has in the United States and several U.S. companies have around the world. History of international trade goes back at least 5,000 to 6,000 years. You read in ancient Jewish and Arab history about the caravans that traveled throughout the lands, going from one country to another. There's a slide in the module that shows the Chinese caravan routes from Western countries to China. Sometimes, and a downside historically to say 200-300 years ago were that some of the companies like East India Trade Company, Hudson Bay Company were actually more powerful than the countries in which they did business with, and therefore kind of stifled the individuality of the countries. Now, there are some people that think we're going back that way with some of the huge conglomerates that are doing business around the world, and that's a decision I think that you would have to make. But it is a very good, thought-provoking idea. Reasons, again, for the enhanced need to study international business. One is the ease of communications. Most probably everyone watching this has a cell phone and you could use that cell phone to call anywhere around the world. The global reorientation of production facilities, where traditionally companies would ship everything out of one manufacturing facility. Now they will locate their manufacturing around the world, either for a better cost structure or that it's easier to service the local market that way. The explosion of the global service sector, and we've talked about that a little bit earlier, and we'll go into a lot more later. And the increasing emphasis and spotlight on how global corporations treat the environment, and then also the expansion or explosion, if you will, of global direct investment. The last thing I want to leave you with is that we talk about jobs leaving America. Well, actually, the share of manufacturing jobs in the United States has risen in the past 10 to 15 years. And there's a couple main reasons for that, I think. One is there's a lot of direct foreign investment from companies like Toyota, Honda, BMW, building large plants that employ 5,000 to 10,000 people or more. And then also in the past, probably 10 to 15 years, many American companies have reacted to the Chinese threat and the low-income country threat by getting much more productive. And one of my final projects at the company that I just retired from was that we took a product that we had moved to China in about 2003, and through increased productivity, we were able to move that product back starting in September, and we are now building that product in Ohio again. And in the process, no one took a pay cut. We did it strictly through lean manufacturing concepts and working with suppliers so they could lean out their processes, and we're able to do that. So for another reason, that's international business that we did. We were buying from China, now we're exporting. We're building for the United States, but we're also exporting to Canada and to Europe that product, and helping the competitive environment of the company that I left. So hope this overview kind of helps a little bit, and I will post more as the semester progresses.